Our story kicks off with the life of a typical Japanese corporate drone. This poor guy had absolutely zero romance game and worked until his eyes bled. The absolute peak of his existence was drinking with co-workers and awkwardly trying to flirt. One night, while walking home feeling like his soul had been sucked out by the daily grind, he was too busy contemplating his sad life to notice the legendary isekai truck. He got dragged for 30 meters, ouch, and died from blood loss. But death was just a promotion. He was reincarnated into a fantasy world packed with magic, heroes, and even demon kings. His first memory in this new server is being the sole survivor of a demon attack. Luckily, a wizard named Merlin Wolford finds the orphan, adopts him, and names him Shin Wolford. Shin grows up as Merlin's grandson and only pupil, living in the middle of nowhere. Thanks to his modern-day knowledge and basic physics, Shin becomes ridiculously OP at everything, whether it's slinging spells or swinging swords. One day, 8-year-old Shin decides to go grocery shopping in the forest. He hides in a bush and uses wind magic to snipe some unsuspecting chickens and even bags a wild boar. Merlin is thoroughly impressed that a literal child just hunted down a boar for dinner. He decides to test the boy's magic, telling him to use basic flame magic. Shin visualizes a gas stove and accidentally creates super hot blue flames, shocking the old man. The best part, Shin is just happy he doesn't have to chant cringy spells to make magic happen. He'd rather die again than sound like a Chinibu wizard. Later, Melinda Bowen, not an airplane mechanic, and Michael Colling, who is actually his sword instructor, arrive at the cottage. Melinda immediately chews Shin out for hunting the boar, calling it dangerous even if they are basically pests that reproduce like hamsters. However, Shin hits her with straight logic. It wasn't dangerous because I used the gear you made me and the training you gave me. The little boy basically lawyers the old woman into silence. 2 years after that roast session, Merlin takes Shin out to hunt demons because he thinks the kid needs to fight something that hits back. He explains that demons are born when animals, or rarely, humans, can't control their magical energy and go berserk. Apparently, a human went full demon mode ages ago and nearly wiped out a nation, but was defeated by someone who earned the title of hero. Merlin decides to teach Shin a search spell, which involves spreading mana in a super thin layer over the area to act like a magical radar. Merlin warns that it takes ages to master this technique, but Shin basically hacks reality and gets it right on the first try. Not only that, but his range is better than Merlin's. Suddenly, Shin senses some seriously bad vibes. A demon is nearby. They rush to the scene, and Shin immediately draws his sword. Using his knowledge from his past life, specifically physics, not whatever weird handshaking habit you were thinking of, he vibrates the blade at ultrasonic speeds. Combined with his magic boots, he blitzes the demon and slices it in half before Merlin can even blink or warn him about how dangerous it is. When Merlin asks what on earth he just did, Shin keeps the physics lesson to himself to avoid explaining that he essentially brought a lightsaber to a knife fight. The next day, after receiving some brutal beatdowns, training, from Michael Colling, Merlin takes the boy to the mountains. The old man finally drops the truth bomb. Shin isn't his biological grandson but was found in the wreckage of a carriage attack. Shin, having retained his past memories and general chill vibe, explains that he already accepted his parents were gone. He tells the old man that he considers Merlin, Michael Colling, and Melinda Bowen to be his real family. This sentimental haymaker hits Merlin right in the feels, and the legendary wizard starts bawling like a baby. Later, they throw a party for Shin's 15th birthday to celebrate his adulthood. The family invites special guests, including a man Shin calls Uncle Dis, who is actually King Desium von Earlshide, and his guards, Christina Hayden and Siegfried Marquez. When asked about his future plans, Shin says he just wants to explore a town since he's never left the forest and has no real goals. Christina Hayden suggests he join the Royal Knights or become a demon hunter, but then the room goes silent as a horrible realization dawns on them. Shin admits he has no idea how to charge for services or buy things. It turns out Merlin taught him how to nuke a landscape but forgot to teach him what money is, assuming the kid would just figure it out. The group uses a teleportation gate to travel to an isolated wasteland so Shin Wolford can flex his magic without accidentally deleting civilization. Merlin Wolford tells him to show them what he's got. Shin starts by visualizing a gas stove to create blue flames, which already surprises them. But then, because he actually paid attention in science class, he adds hydrogen to the mix, compresses the fireball into a dense point, and launches it at a nearby hill. The resulting explosion is basically a tactical nuke, completely vaporizing the landscape. This terrifies everyone, especially Melinda Bowen, who realizes her grandson is a walking weapon of mass destruction. They decide it's too risky to let a kid with nuclear capabilities wander around as a vagrant. While the king briefly considers hiring him as a biological deterrent, they ultimately suggest Shin enroll in the Magic Academy. Merlin initially hates the idea, fearing that scary women at the academy might manipulate Shin into destroying the world, or worse, break his heart. During this conversation, Shin finally connects the dots. His idiot uncle is actually King Desium von Earlshide, and the people around him him are the realm's strongest warriors. He also realizes that Merlin and Melinda are ex-partners. The sudden mental image of the two seniors getting intimate gives Shin enough psychic damage to want to die. Despite warnings to watch out for dangerous girls, especially the blue-haired ones, Shin agrees to go to school to learn about the world. Deuxième assures him that the academy runs on a meritocracy, so his lack of noble blood won't matter. A few days later, Shin, Merlin, and Melinda head to the capital. The gate guards basically lose their minds like fanboys when they see the legendary heroes together. They head to their mansion, where Shin is shocked by the army of maids and butlers catering to them. Later, Shin wanders off to explore the city, immediately gets lost in an alley, and stumbles upon a classic anime trope, two girls being harassed by three skeezy adventurers. Shin Wolford, disgusted by their trashy behavior, steps in to help. One of the thugs tries to hit him, but he's moving in slow motion compared to Shin, who easily dodges, throws the guy to the ground, and knocks out the second one with a swift kick. The third guy, clearly not reading the room, charges with a dagger. Shin simply catches the blade with his bare hand, thanks to magical gloves, and punches the guy's lights out. After this absolute flex, the girl he saved asks if he's hurt. Shin assures her he's fine, but the moment he looks at her, he suffers a critical hit to the heart. It's love at first sight. Her friend pops up to thank him, and the girls introduce themselves as Maria von Messina and Cicely von Claude. It turns out they are also enrolling in the Magic Academy and are massive fangirls of the legendary heroes, aka Shin's grandparents. Realizing that revealing his identity now would be incredibly awkward, Shin pays for their drinks and flees the scene like a socially anxious ninja. On the day of the entrance exam, Shin is trying to check the bulletin board when a rude nobleman tries to shove him. Shin casually twists the guy's arm in self-defense. The angry noble, Kurt von Ritzberg, tries to use his status to threaten Shin, but fortunately, the crown prince, August von Erlshide, appears. August reminds Kurt that flashing noble status at school is against the rules, sending Kurt packing. Shin is shocked to realize that August is the son of Uncle Dis, meaning he's been treating the future king like a casual cousin this whole time. August just laughs it off. During the written exam, everyone does fine, but the practical exam is where things get tragic. Shin is hyped to see other mages, but he watches in horror as a student chants a long, cringy poem just to conjure a pathetic little flame. Shin is disgusted by the inefficiency. When it's his turn, the instructor, who was warned by the king that Shin is basically a walking natural disaster, begs him to hold back. Shin tries to use the bare minimum power but still obliterates the exam room wall. Later, while picking up his uniform, Shin asks if he can have Melinda Bowen add her own enchantments. The receptionist agrees and then drops a bomb. Shin scored the highest marks and has to give the speech at the admission ceremony, destroying his dream of a low-profile life. Shin Wolford immediately tries to pawn the speech duty off on August von Erlshide, arguing that royalty should handle the spotlight. However, the prince plays his cards perfectly, reminding Shin that in this academy, raw power ranks higher than blue blood, so get up there, champ. Later, Shin focuses on enchanting his uniform using a special pen he invented. He accidentally goes overboard, as usual, and adds perfect defense, auto-healing, and kinetic energy mana generation. Melinda Bowen is absolutely horrified by this game-breaking gear and makes Shin swear to keep his mouth shut about it, lest he break the world economy. At the entrance ceremony, Shin's name is called, and the girls, Cicely von Claude and Maria von Messina, finally realize their savior is the grandson of the legendary heroes. Naturally, they start fangirling hard. Not only did he save them, but he's basically royalty in the magic world. Shin calmly delivers his speech, while Kurt von Ritzberg seethes with jealousy, looking like he's about to explode from pure rage. After the ceremony, Shin, August, and the other top-tier students are placed in the S-rank class. Everything seems normal until Cicely reveals she's being stalked by a guy from a higher-ranked family. Shin is eager to protect her, but he quickly realizes the creep is none other than Kurt. Kurt barges in and tries to grab Cicely, claiming they are engaged. Shin briefly hesitates, respecting the engagement, but sees the poor girl trembling with fear. Cicely clarifies she never agreed to marry him and that he's forcing it. Just as things get heated, August steps in and roasts Kurt, warning him that threatening a student with noble status is grounds for expulsion. Kurt, defeated by logic and rank, storms off. August then teases Shin for showing off his knightly courage in front of a pretty girl, making Shin blush. To ensure she gets home safe, Shin decides to escort Cicely, and Maria instantly agrees, seeing it as a chance to get closer to the hero's grandson. August decides to tag along too, bringing his entourage, Thor von Fregel and Julius von Littenheim, the guy with the glasses. Back at the mansion, Shin introduces his squad to his grandparents. He explains Cicely's stalker situation and asks Melinda for permission to upgrade the defense on Cicely's uniform. Melinda Melinda asks if Sicily is worthy of such protection. Shin, thinking this is a test of commitment, says he's ready to take responsibility. Melinda sighs and explains the real issue. A uniform enchanted by Shin is so overpowered it would instantly become a national treasure capable of deciding the fate of wars 2,000 years in the future. No pressure, though. Cicely Von Claude starts sobbing, realizing she might be taking advantage of Shin Wolford's kindness, and tries to refuse the overpowered gear. However, Melinda Bowen realizes that Cicely is actually a precious cinnamon roll with a pure heart. She insists the girl accept the treasure precisely because she was honest enough to refuse it. Melinda then makes everyone swear a blood oath, okay, just a regular promise, to keep this enchantment a secret. If the public found out Cicely got free god-tier armor, Shin would never know peace again. Everyone agrees, recognizing that Shin is basically a walking nuclear deterrent and portable portal service, so it's best not to stress him out. With the outfit ready, Shin uses his search magic to act as a GPS bodyguard while walking Cicely to school. She appreciates the kindness, but their morning commute turns into a romantic bubble that leaves poor Maria von Messina feeling like the ultimate third wheel, just awkwardly holding the candle while her friends make hard eyes at each other. At school, a blonde girl rushes in just in time for class. This is Alice. When asked what club he wants to join, Shin has no clue. August suggests he just start his own, and the teacher and class immediately support the idea because, well, he's Shin. Thorvald Fregel asks the million-dollar question, what is the club actually for? Alice suggests a hero fan club, but there's already one of those. Eventually, they settle on naming it the Ultimate Magic Study Group. The next day, the group learns that Kurt von Ritzberg has been suspended. When Shin asks why Kurt acts like a rabid animal, the group explains he wasn't always a jerk. He apparently changed after spending time in the lab with a teacher named Oliver Strom. While most students avoid studying like the plague, Kurt was the only one hanging out with this mysterious professor. Later, time passes and the immediate threat from Kurt vanishes, meaning Shin no longer needs to escort Cicely. Cicely gets depressed thinking their morning dates are over, and Maria watches her friend sulk. However, Shin smooths things over by revealing he wants to keep walking her to school anyway. Cicely is so touched she almost proposes marriage right then and there but manages to keep it together. Shin then casually drops the fact that he can sense evil intentions like a magical radar. Before he can even finish explaining, the group stares at him, wondering if there is literally anything this guy can't do. Shin Wolford explains that demons naturally radiate evil, and people with truly malicious intent glow with a similar color. Upon hearing this, Rin Hughes asks if he has ever actually hunted a demon before. With a totally innocent smile, Shin casually drops that his kill count is over 1,000. The group is stunned into silence. Shin, apparently not done flexing, adds that he bagged his first demon, a massive 3-meter demonized bear, when he was just 10 years old. Outside the cafeteria, Shin's evil radar pings, alerting him to a hostile presence. It turns out to be Kurt von Ritzberg, who approaches and immediately launches a flame attack. Shin puts up a barrier that barely holds, shouting for the group to activate their uniform defenses. The heat is so intense it burns Shin's hands, but his auto-healing kicks in instantly. Realizing Kurt is actually trying to kill them, the group prepares for battle. Kurt continues to leak a terrifying negative aura, slowly morphing into a demon right before their eyes. Shin immediately tells August von Earlshide to get everyone to safety while he handles the threat. August initially gets annoyed, thinking Shin doesn't trust their strength, but Shin insists they retreat for safety. August realizes he's right and evacuates the squad. Now alone, Shin activates his blue flames, ready to throw hands. He tries to use small flames to slow Kurt down, but even his small attacks do way more damage than intended. During the fight, Kurt starts swearing at Shin, which is shocking because demons usually lose their ability to speak. Shin hits him with lightning magic, but while it hurts, it doesn't stop the rampaging noble. As Kurt's rage builds, Shin desperately tries to think of a way to save him, but it's looking grim. Kurt's magical power begins to accumulate so rapidly that he's basically becoming a living bomb. Realizing the blast would destroy the school, Shin makes a tough call. He grabs his ultrasonic blade, dodges Kurt's attacks, and rushes in to deliver the killing blow. Shin falls to his knees, shaken by the realization that he just killed a human being. His friends arrive moments later, relieved but surprised to see him victorious. Meanwhile, Professor Oliver Strom watches from the shadows, his interest in Shin peaked. When August arrives, Shin points out that Kurt's transformation makes no sense. He didn't have the magical knowledge to accidentally turn himself into a demon. August agrees, deducing that someone must have artificially induced the transformation. Since Kurt von Ritzberg retained his consciousness unlike a standard mindless beast, the group deduces that he was likely the victim of a twisted human experiment. Later that day, they arrive home to find King Desium von Earlshide waiting for them. The king bestows a special honor upon Shin Wolford for averting a national crisis. Merlin Wolford immediately gets grumpy and confronts the king about keeping Shin low profile, but Desium explains that the news has already spread faster than gossip in a high school cafeteria. Denying the hero his award now would look suspicious. Merlin reluctantly agrees, provided Shin stays out of politics, and Shin accepts the medal. The next day, Shin is the the absolute talk of the town. The walk to school becomes a gauntlet of thirst, as every girl in the city seems to want to snag a powerful new boyfriend. However, Cicely Von Claude saves the day by clinging to Shin's arm, effectively marking her territory and signaling to the other girls that this hero is taken. At school, a stampede of students tries to join Shin's new club. The teacher, realizing they can't fit the entire population of the school into one room, decides to filter the applicants. Only those who can use dimensional storage magic can join. It turns out this is a high bar, and only 2 people pass: Mark Bean, the son of a blacksmith, and his childhood friend Olivia Stone, whose family owns a famous diner. Alice Corner and her friends are huge fans of Olivia's family restaurant, so Olivia promises to hook them up with a reservation. Shin mentions he needs a custom weapon, but Mark Bean admits he's still a novice who can barely forge a butter knife, let alone a masterwork. Shin explains that his previous swords keep shattering because he enchants them to vibrate at ultrasonic speeds, basically turning them into tuning forks of death, so he needs something durable. Meanwhile, Yuri Carlton, a classmate with a charming profile, starts sucking up to Shin, praising his immense talent. Since she's cute and Shin is weak to flattery, he asks what she wants. Her price, an introduction to her idol, Melinda Bowen. Shin quickly accepts the deal. Cut to the villains. That shady professor, Oliver Strom, is finally being investigated by the Order of Knights. Realizing his cover is blown and his escape routes are cut, Oliver drops the act. He admits he was indeed conducting experiments on humans. A confident knight thinks he can solo the professor, but Oliver deletes him with embarrassing ease. Shin is forced to step in to stop the madman. He attacks Oliver Strom with his sword and flame magic simultaneously, but the professor blocks it all with a shield. Shin tries to hack away at him, but his attacks are bouncing off. Oliver then uses earth magic to launch Shin into the air, putting him in a position where dodging is physically impossible. However, Oliver Strom reveals he can use magic to float, so Shin Wolford uses his enchanted gear to launch himself upward like a human missile, landing a flame strike. Oliver blasts him back with a massive energy wave, shattering his glasses to reveal he is a demon who has perfectly retained his sanity and control. While Oliver brags about evolving beyond humanity, Shin launches a seemingly reckless attack. The group thinks he made a mistake, but he was actually just buying time to load his ultimate weapon, a spell that acts like a cosmic magnifying glass. Shin brings down dozens of concentrated sunlight lasers that pierce the clouds and nuke Oliver. The resulting heat turns the ground into glass, creating a crater. Despite the overkill, Shin suspects Oliver survived, believing the massive explosion was actually a smokescreen Oliver created to escape. Ever the humble guy, Shin thanks the court magicians for their help, even though they stood around doing absolutely nothing. When the magicians ask what the hell that sunlight spell was, Shin starts explaining the physics of light refraction, and their brains basically short-circuit. The next day, Shin and his friends head to Mark Bean's family smithy. Shin confesses to August von Earlshide that he thinks Oliver is still alive because he didn't feel the magic connect. August, realizing Shin is the only one capable of stopping this villain, tells him to order whatever he wants and the royal family will foot the bill, basically giving him the kingdom's credit card. They arrive at the shop where Mark and Olivia Stone welcome them. The girls drag Olivia away for some girl talk, definitely not a podcast about female culture, while the boys enter the weapon shop. The owner, unaware of who they are, immediately screams at them, calling them shitty-ass children. August calmly introduces himself as the crown prince, causing the blacksmith and his staff to drop to their knees so fast they probably cracked the floor. Then, August introduces Shin as the great sage's grandson and the new hero, causing the owner to nearly have a heart attack from the double shock. August explains that Shin needs a custom sword capable of handling his insane power. After placing the order, they rejoin the girls and find that Cicely Von Claude and Maria Von Messina have completely exhausted poor Olivia with their questions. Shin asks Mark what else they sell, and finding out they have kitchenware, he turns to Cicely and asks if she wants a cooking pot to wash dishes. Cicely turns bright red, interpreting this domestic gift as a clumsy marriage proposal, and stammers that she would prefer a wedding ring instead, leaving Shin totally confused. Shin Wolford clarifies that he didn't mean to propose, he just wanted to enchant an object, literally anything, even a cooking pot or a washing machine, to keep her safe. Cicely Von Claude, horrified that her romantic moment almost turned into an appliance shopping trip, insists on the ring. Shin buys the expensive jewelry, places it on her finger, and tells her it will protect her, still completely oblivious to the fact that he just practically married her in the eyes of society. A few days later, Shin suits up for his award ceremony. He stands before the royal court, receiving applause from high-ranking nobles who are definitely plotting how to use him. The king, Deuxième von Earlshide, awards him a a medal and then drops a tactical nuke of a decree, Shin is strictly off-limits for military or political use. If anyone breaks this rule, Merlin Wolford and his entire overpowered family will leave the country, effectively leaving the nation defenseless. Shin later surprises everyone by arriving at school using his gate magic to escape the paparazzi camped on his lawn. He tries to explain to a confused Rin Hughes that his gate works by folding space to reduce the distance to zero, rather than traditional mana-heavy teleportation. Rin looks at him like he's speaking alien, so Shin comforts her by revealing that not even Merlin understands the concept because he doesn't have the isekai protagonist physics hack. Shin then suggests the group needs to level up because, frankly, they are too squishy to survive the current threats. He explains that magic isn't about chanting long sentences, it's about imagination and control. To demonstrate, he examines Maria von Messina's defensive barrier, which is paper thin. He then asks Cicely to create a barrier using the enchanted ring he gave her. Thanks to his gift, her barrier becomes incredibly thick, firm, and durable. Get your mind out of the gutter. Shin decides to demonstrate his own mana capacity. He releases his control, and the atmospheric pressure drops so hard that the group nearly suffocates. The sheer terror makes some of them fear for the integrity of their underwear. Shin cheerfully tells them that until they can make a demon soil itself just by powering up, they aren't ready. He then takes the traumatized group to his house to meet the legendary sage. Merlin laughs off the crowd at the gate as the price of fame. When the students ask if Merlin taught Shin all these insane spells, the old man shakes his head and admits that after he taught the basics, Shin started inventing magic that defies the laws of their reality. Merlin Wolford explains that while most magicians focus on the result, like make fire, Shin focuses on the process, like combustion reaction. He asks the students if they understand how fire actually burns, but they stare blankly. They know nothing about oxygen or chemical reactions. Merlin admits he doesn't really get it either, but he suspects Shin possesses knowledge from a world where all the secrets of the universe were discovered by normal people, and now he's using that info to speedrun this fantasy world. Merlin is 100% correct. Shin is essentially using a science textbook to cheat while everyone else is still banging rocks together and chanting poems like primitive monkeys. However, Merlin drops a bombshell. By understanding Shin's explanations, anyone can get stronger. To prove it, the old man casually opens a gate, shocking Shin. Merlin laughs, admitting it was hard at first, but once he understood the principle of folding space, he mastered it. He tells the students that Shin isn't unique. If they visualize the process accurately, they can do it too. This gives the group a massive confidence boost. Rin Hughes takes this confidence straight to the training ground. The next day, she arrives at school looking like she fought a toaster and lost, covered in bruises with singed hair. When Shin asks what happened, she explains she tried to control her magic using his methods but accidentally caused a small explosion. Shin worries, but Rin shrugs it off, saying explosions are just part of the job since her dad is a court magician. Later, the group heads to the smithy, where the first prototype of Shin's new sword is ready. It features a trigger mechanism that ejects the blade so a new one can be swapped in instantly. Basically, Shin ripped off the design from Attack on Titan, and Tony Freed, the guy who first suggested the idea, is impressed by the performance. August von Earlshide asks Shin if the military can adopt this replaceable blade design, minus the ultrasonic enchantment, to cut costs and boost efficiency. He warns that a war with a neighboring country is brewing, and they need every advantage they can get. The other students are well aware of the looming conflict and fear they'll be drafted if war breaks out. August von Earlshide tells them to chill for now and assures Shin Wolford that the country will honor its promise to keep him out of the military. Shin, however, clarifies his stance. He won't sit idly by if his friends are in danger. If shit hits the fan, he's jumping into the fray to protect his squad. Politics be damned. Meanwhile, Oliver Strom, who survived the earlier nuke, puts his master plan into motion. He manipulates the emperor of the neighboring Blue Dania Empire into launching a war, claiming the Earlshide kingdom is weakened by demon attacks. However, when the imperial forces attack, they find the Earlshide defenses are ready and waiting. The empire's army gets absolutely wrecked. To make matters worse, the emperor receives news that demons have been spotted in his own capital. He retreats in a panic, only to find his city already devastated. When he reaches the throne room, Oliver is waiting. The emperor tries to fight, but Oliver binds him with magic and sends him into oblivion, effectively toppling the empire. Earlshide forces enter the empire to finish the war, only to be met by a horde of demons led by Oliver. They immediately retreat and report this to King Desium, who realizes the situation has escalated from political war to apocalyptic demon crisis. The kingdom goes on high alert, and the academy announces joint training sessions with the Order of Knights to improve combat readiness. The class immediately falls into a deep depression. Shin tries to play peacemaker, suggesting everyone everyone should just get along and praise each other's strengths. He is immediately shut down by a classmate who points out that Shin is basically a hybrid of both. Shin reveals his sword instructor is Michael Calling, the sword saint, shocking everyone, but it still doesn't fix the divide. The next day, the joint demon hunting exercise begins. Shin gathers with his favorites, August, Cicely, and Maria. The assigned group of knights arrives and, unaware that Shin is the new hero, immediately starts trash-talking him, claiming he'll just slow them down. When Shin asks if they've ever fought a demon, they take it as an insult. A female knight with a serious attitude stands up to spout nonsense about how knights are invincible and defeat everything with pure virility. This irritates August, who whispers to Shin, "Do not kill any demons until it's absolutely necessary. Let them fail so they learn they need mages." They arrive at the designated area and are greeted by their supervisors, Christina Hayden and Siegfried Marquez. Shin Wolford begs everyone to chill out, but stopping the chaos is impossible even for him. Suddenly, a swarm of fangirls gathers around Siegfried Marquez, while Christina Hayden is also besieged by her own admirers. Shin is surprised they have such a massive following, but August von Earlshide explains that as the king's top defenders, they are basically celebrities. However, the prince isn't here for a meet and greet. He explains his plan to the supervisors: let the knights start the battle alone so they get humble, and the magicians will only jump in when things go south. The supervisors agree, and the group moves out. Along the way, Shin spots a demonic boar. He actually gets sad, not out of fear, but because the demon corruption means he can't turn that boar into a delicious bacon dinner. Siegfried Marquez warns the group to prepare for combat. The knights try to hold the line, but the boar smashes through their formation like they are bowling pins. Waiting for the perfect moment, Shin steps in and bisects the pig with a single clean cut. Christina Hayden immediately scolds the knights for being weak, and Cicely Von Claude steps in to heal their wounds. Suddenly, the knights become incredibly humble, treating Cicely like a literal goddess. This irritates Shin to no end. Meanwhile, the female knight with the attitude gets angry because she's never been treated like a princess. Just then, Shin detects over 100 demons rushing toward them. He proposes that everyone stand back so he can solo the lobby and exterminate them all. They agree, and Shin uses the opportunity to vent his jealousy-fueled rage by unleashing a mini-atomic bomb spell. The 100 demons are instantly deleted, along with a significant portion of the forest, leaving it in ruins. Everyone loses their minds seeing Shin's apocalyptic power. The knights immediately regret ever trash-talking the great hero. The female knight who was talking smack earlier apologizes and asks if Shin and Cicely are dating. Both of them turn tomato red, but it turns out the knight only asked because she wanted to know if Shin was on the market. Finally, the group starts working as a team. They encounter a demon bear. The knights form a defensive line while the mages rain down fireballs. When the bear gets distracted by the fire, the knights strike. Shin plays support, using magic barriers to shield them. When the dust settles, Cicely heals the knights again. They go right back to calling her a goddess, despite knowing she clearly belongs to another man, which just makes Shin grind his teeth in annoyance again. Siegfried approaches Shin, asking why his classmates are so much stronger than the average mage. Shin reveals that he created a study group and has been teaching them his legendary knowledge. Siegfried, eager to get stronger, asks to join the group, but August von Earlshide immediately shuts him down. He reminds Siegfried that since he is active military, teaching him Shin's specialized magic would violate the non-proliferation treaty Shin has with the kingdom. Plus, Shin's magic is basically world-ending tech. If it falls into the wrong hands, it's game over. August takes the opportunity to lecture Shin, again, about being careful with his knowledge. Siegfried accepts the rejection but begs to at least be taught the basics that Merlin teaches. August explains that Merlin's secret is deceptively simple: practice magic control every single day. Siegfried thinks August is lying, so the prince calls over Maria von Messina and Cicely von Claude to demonstrate. They deploy their barriers, and Siegfried is floored by how thick and durable they are. Maria humbly notes that her shield is still thinner than Shin's, accepting that she'll never surpass the sage's grandson. However, Siegfried gives her a pep talk, telling her she's special and should believe in herself. These words hit the perpetually single Maria right in the heart, and her brain starts spinning with new possibilities. Siegfried vows to practice his control daily and report back on his progress. Shin wonders how the rest of his friends are faring. The scene shifts to another part of the forest where Mark Bean, Olivia Stone, Tony Freed, and Julius von Littenheim are working with a different group of knights. One knight is particularly hostile toward Tony. They were high school friends until Tony betrayed him by joining the Magic Academy instead of the Knight Academy. Suddenly, a demon wolf attacks. The hostile knight, trying to prove a point, rushes in alone despite the supervisor's warnings. He runs straight into an ambush as more wolves appear, leaving the knights in serious trouble. Tony and the other mages step in, sniping the demons from a distance with precision magic. The supervisor stares in shock. The demons are completely vaporized, leaving only smoking craters in the ground. Tony Freed approaches his former friend, who is still giving him the cold shoulder. The group asks if there's a deeper reason for this hostility, and Tony thinks for a moment before the realization hits him. His friend had a massive crush on a certain girl, but she confessed to Tony instead. They dated for a short time, which apparently made his friend salty enough to hold a grudge forever, because nobody likes Mr. Steal Your Girl, apparently. Meanwhile, another group formed by Rin Hughes, Alice Corner, Yuri Carlton, and Thor Von Fregel is having a rough time. The knights assigned to them spend the whole time making sexist comments to provoke the girls. However, when a pack of small demon dogs attacks, the knights reveal they are all bark and no bite. The girls lose their patience seeing this pathetic display and decide to handle the demons themselves. Rin Hughes unleashes her magic, but true to form, she loses control and causes an explosion that deals minor damage and major cosmetic issues to her own group. Much later, everyone regroups at the city gate. Shin Wolford finds Rin's group looking like they just stuck their fingers in electrical sockets, with disheveled hair and soot everywhere, confirming that Rin still hasn't mastered the off switch on her magic. He also sees Tony Freed and his former friend still bickering like an old married couple. When the other students ask Shin how his mission went, Maria von Messina chimes in to say that Shin and Cicely von Claude spent the whole time flirting. The couple blushes furiously, so Maria stops teasing and explains that with Shin's support, they easily solved the night problem by applying a little dictatorship to get them in line. August von Earlshide takes charge of the conversation and drops a bombshell. Everyone in the study group, except Shin, who is already a walking national secret, will be placed under national supervision. He believes that thanks to Shin's insane training, they have become too strong to be left roaming free. They will form a special unit directly under his control to prevent other nations from poaching them. A few days later, Shin takes the girls from his study group to practice magic in the mountains near his old home. The evolution of their power is absolutely terrifying. August comments that watching them destroy the landscape is like watching the nation's greatest military assets in action. Shin explains he brought them here because he knows the area well, and more importantly, there are no witnesses to report the destruction they are causing. August von Earlshide gathers everyone to drop some heavy state secrets regarding the demons. He bluntly informs them that they are no longer qualified to be normal citizens. Once the war begins, they will be vital military assets likely fighting on the front lines, so they need to know their enemy unless they plan on dying immediately. August reveals that the demons are currently wreaking havoc on the Bludania Empire, often referred to as the neighboring empire, inflicting irreparable damage. The demons are surprisingly progressive. They believe in true equality, massacring both nobles and commoners with the same enthusiasm. Despite knowing this, August's father, King Desium, can't rush into war without preparation, especially since the demon population is multiplying faster than rabbits. Shin Wolford is convinced that Oliver Strom is still alive and pulling the strings. He knows that when the final boss fight happens, he's likely the only one capable of winning. To ensure his friends don't get wiped out, he proposes a training camp to buff their stats. August suggests a place where they can train hard and relax. Maria von Messina immediately suggests Cicely von Claude's family estate because they own a hot spring. Upon hearing the words hot spring, Shin's dormant Japanese soul activates, and he agrees instantly. He tells his grandparents, and they support the plan. However, Melinda Bowen asks who will supervise a group of teenagers capable of leveling cities. When Shin admits they have no chaperone, Melinda volunteers to supervise, though it's obvious she just wants a free spa vacation. Merlin Wolford, not wanting to be left out of the fun, announces he will come along too. Soon after, they arrive at the hot spring city. At Cicely's mansion, the staff welcomes the group and seems to have already accepted Shin as their future lord and master, or genius son-in-law. Later, the boys hit the baths. Merlin gets sentimental and thanks the boys for being Shin's friends, since the kid grew up in the woods with zero social life. August thanks Merlin in return, saying he's never had a friend who treats him as informally as Shin does. The others join in the praise, offering testimonies about how Shin changed their lives. Basically, Shin is the isekai Jesus of the group. The next morning, the vacation vibe ends, and they begin rigorous magic control training under Merlin's supervision. Merlin Wolford gives personalized advice tailored to each student's performance, but as per tradition, Rin Hughes dumps way too much mana into her spell and loses control. Merlin has to intervene immediately, shielding the group to prevent Rin from accidentally killing her friends with an explosion. After that near-death experience, Melinda Bowen gives the students a lecture on magical equipment and chanting techniques. Shin Wolford then takes the squad to the mountains for practical training. The students start firing off spells without chanting, which is impressive enough that Melinda thinks they are already strong enough to put the official magic department out of a job. However, Shin and Merlin aren't satisfied. Shin knows that if they have to fight an army of demons led by Oliver Strom, drum. Everyone, himself included, needs to get much stronger. The others don't really take his "we are still weak" speech seriously, but they do take him seriously when he starts charging up a new spell. They immediately erect magical barriers to protect themselves from the inevitable shockwave. Shin visualizes a highly combustible gas to create blue fireballs, then combines them into a massive sphere. He adds a tornado around the fireball and points it forward. Until now, Shin used this as a wide area nuke, but this time he wants to focus it into a precision beam. He unleashes the attack, and thanks to his improved control, he ends up obliterating everything in a straight line, vaporizing 3 hills in the process. While Shin is celebrating the success of his new technique, Melinda Bowen delivers a swift kick to his body, calling him a fool. She asks why on earth he needs a technique capable of terraforming the landscape by deleting 3 hills at once. Shin, visibly annoyed, claims he didn't think it would be that powerful. Melinda isn't buying his excuse, and the other students are absolutely terrified. No one believes Shin when he tries to downplay the destruction as nothing special. Class is dismissed, and as everyone heads home, August von Earlshide asks Shin to use his gate spell to Uber him to the castle for an update on the war. Shin agrees and teleports them to the castle, where a grumpy blonde girl is waiting. August is surprised to see her and introduces her to Shin as his fiancée, Elizabeth von Coral. She introduces herself to Shin with perfect noble manners, then immediately pivots to verbally attacking August for going to camp and leaving her alone. August von Earlshide's younger sister, May von Earlshide, arrives on the scene and immediately sides with her future sister-in-law. She claims she doesn't miss her brother at all, but she is annoyed that he's always off camping with his idols, instead of hanging out at the palace. August teases her, saying she'll get to meet those idols soon enough. However, the moment May notices Shin Wolford standing there, she freezes up. She nervously introduces herself as a massive fan of Melinda Bowen. Shin thinks the kid is cute, but the wholesome moment is interrupted when the girls declare they are joining the training camp. August immediately refuses, claiming it's too dangerous and yelling that the king would never sanction such a field trip. Unfortunately for him, King Desium von Earlshide walks in right on cue and tells him to take his fiancée and sister along, effectively destroying August's authority. While August looks like his soul has left his body, Shin just smirks, realizing he will have plenty of ammunition to tease the prince later. Shin uses his gate to transport the group to the hot spring city in an instant. May is overjoyed to be in a completely different city in the blink of an eye, but August scolds her for getting too hype. Shin offers his hand to the little princess, and August instructs her to listen to everything Shin says and not to wander off like a lost puppy. He then turns to his fiancée, Elizabeth von Coral, and warns her that there are no servants at the camp to pamper her. Elizabeth replies that she doesn't care about comfort, she is only here to ensure August doesn't get distracted. Shin assumes she's jealous of the girls at the camp, but Elizabeth corrects him. She isn't worried about the girls, she is worried about him. Apparently, every moment August spends with Shin makes her jealous because she suspects something is going on between the two boys. Shin is immediately disgusted by the idea that he is part of her boy's love fantasy. Shortly after, they go to a restaurant to eat. August clears up the misunderstanding by telling Elizabeth that Shin already has a girlfriend, which makes Shin panic. August tells him to stop being a coward and make his position clear with Cicely von Claude, pointing out that it is painfully obvious to everyone with functioning eyes that they are both madly in love with each other. Shin Wolford is still paralyzed by doubt, wondering what will happen if his assumption is wrong and he ruins his relationship with Cicely von Claude. August von Earlshide, tired of this drama, asks Shin if he is happy with the status quo or if he plans to continue being a coward. He tells him a real man takes action rather than waiting for the girl to make the first move, despite August guiding him toward the path of manhood. Meanwhile, May von Earlshide and Elizabeth von Coral are chatting with Cicely, telling her that Shin talks about her constantly and that they make a very cute couple. Both Shin and Cicely blush furiously upon hearing this, and Shin nearly uses an ultimate magic spell just to silence the girls. Later, the girls greet the powerful old couple. May gets nervous seeing Melinda Bowen in person. Shin introduces her as a superfan, and Melinda approaches May, finding her very pretty. Melinda sighs, wishing Shin had been this adorable as a child, but instead, he was a troublemaker who would wander off and kill half the forest ecosystem if left unsupervised. Everyone agrees, hoping Shin's future children won't be as chaotic as he was. Hearing this, Cicely jumps to his defense, stating that Shin's children will certainly be wonderful. She immediately turns tomato red when she realizes she just publicly discussed having babies with him. As everyone teases her for planning their family tree already, Cicely panics and runs away. August looks at Shin and basically says, if that didn't make it clear she likes you, nothing will. Wake up before she finds a guy who isn't dense. That night, Shin goes for a walk and finds Cicely sitting alone. After some awkward silence, Cicely apologizes for her thoughtless words earlier. Shin replies that he was actually a little happy to hear them. They start to reminisce about their first meeting, and Shin admits that the moment he saw her, he felt a lightning bolt strike his heart. Cicely confesses she thought he was very handsome back then, too. Finally gathering his courage, Shin declares his love. Cicely cries with joy and says she loves him too. Shin asks her to be his girlfriend girlfriend, and she agrees. They lean in for their first kiss, but suddenly, the bushes rustle. Their friends, who were totally spying on them, pop out at the last second, ruining the moment. And it's not just the friends, even Merlin Wolford and Melinda Bowen are there, watching their grandson finally become a man. The day was so chaotic that the news of Shin Wolford and Cicely Von Claude dating was basically announced via loudspeaker to the whole group. Even a noble follower of Cicely popped out of the bushes just to congratulate them. August Von Earlshide offers his congratulations but immediately switches into strict dad mode, warning Shin not to get so love drunk that he neglects his training. When Shin asks why August set up the whole confession scenario if he was so worried about distractions, August drops some heavy wisdom. A man who says he'll confess after the war usually ends up dead before the credits roll. The next day, everyone arrives at the beach. Shin insists they aren't here to have fun, but let's be honest, they decide to play volleyball using magic. The game kicks off with Alice Corner throwing the ball into the stratosphere and spiking it down with physical reinforcement magic. Olivia Stone receives it like a pro, and Thor Von Fregel sets it up. August lifts it with wind magic, and Rin Hughes jumps in to spike it with a literal fireball. The flaming ball rockets toward Yuri Carlton, who tries to block with a water shield but fails, giving up the first point. While the others are hyped, Shin wonders if volleyball is supposed to be a death sport. Suddenly, a stray fire shot flies toward the spectator area where Elizabeth Von Coral and May Von Earlshide are sitting. Merlin Wolford casually blocks it with a barrier, saving the girls from becoming barbecue. While Melinda Bowen lectures the students for their terrible aim, Merlin argues that dodging lethal volleyballs is great practice for magic control and tells them to keep playing, casualties be damned. After a full day of training, everyone gathers at the mansion that night. Shin discovers that the entire group has known August and Elizabeth since they were 5 years old, thanks to exclusive noble toddler parties. They start gossiping about romance until Shin senses a disturbance in the force. Melinda Bowen is coming. She enters to tell them to go to bed, but the lights are off and everyone scrambles to hide. In the chaos of teenage hormones and panic, Shin and Cicely somehow end up hiding in the exact same bed. Cicely, unable to handle the proximity to her new boyfriend, lets out a suspicious squeak and some heavy panting. Thanks to her lack of stealth, Melinda finds them, and the whole group gets scolded into oblivion. The next morning, the two lovebirds meet in the hallway, blushing furiously as they remember their bed-sharing incident from the night before. Shin tries to escape the awkwardness by suggesting breakfast, but Cicely stops him with a serious request. She wants him to meet her parents and officially declare their relationship before her father leaves for work. Shin agrees, thinking it's the right thing to do, but the moment he stands in front of Cicely's parents, the guy who kills demons for breakfast completely freezes up, proving he is a true coward when it comes to in-laws. Shin Wolford takes a deep breath, gathers every ounce of his courage, and politely informs Cicely Von Claude's parents that they are dating. He braces himself for a shovel talk or a rejection, but contrary to his fears, they really don't care about the drama. Cicely's father grabs Shin's hands and practically thanks him for choosing his daughter. Cicely's mother, however, tells her husband to chill out and asks the million-dollar question. Since they are a noble family, dating usually requires an engagement. Is he ready to commit? Shin confidently declares that he is a hater of the harem genre and only wants one girl for the rest of his life. Moved by his beautiful words and his immense political power, Cicely's parents happily accept him as their future son-in-law. Soon after, the group returns to the mountains to train. Tony Freed and Thor Von Fregel are launching continuous fireballs like human artillery cannons. Elizabeth Von Coral is shocked by the violence, but Shin assures her this is just a light warm-up. Merlin Wolford approaches the girls and asks if they want to train. Elizabeth refuses, claiming she has zero magical talent, but May Von Earlshide is interested. Merlin teaches her basic control and discovers that May is actually a prodigy with potential rivaling Merlin and Melinda Bowen. This praise makes the other girls jealous, especially Rin Hughes. She decides she won't lose to a child and concentrates her magic, but, true to form, she overdoes it and blows herself up again. Later, Shin decides to create a new type of magic. His friends, suffering from PTSD, post-traumatic Shin disorder, immediately dive behind thick magical barriers because they don't trust his experiments to be safe. Shin picks up a rock and tells them to relax since it's not an offensive spell. He pours mana into the stone, and suddenly, it defies physics and begins to float. It's anti-gravity magic. The group stares in confusion at his explanation, but they agree it looks cool. Shin then casts the spell on himself, floating into the air and using wind magic to propel himself around like a human balloon. He laughs at the result, but then reveals the serious reason behind it. Oliver Strum uses flight magic, and Shin developed this to counter him. That night, Shin drops the bomb on his grandparents that he is officially engaged to Cicely. They are surprised by the sudden news, and Shin apologizes for not telling them sooner. Cicely tries to jump in and take the blame, but Merlin and Melinda have zero issues with it. In fact, they're just relieved it finally happened before Shin accidentally married a demon or something. However, before making the engagement public, Melinda Bowen insists on meeting Cicely Von Claude's parents. When they visit, Merlin Wolford and Melinda reveal that they aren't related to Shin Wolford by blood. They want to be transparent, fearing that the main reason the parents accepted Shin was because of his legendary lineage. In response, Cicely's father says he is disappointed in Merlin and Melinda for thinking so little of his family. He claims they aren't self-interested and agreed to the engagement solely because Shin values Cicely and keeps her safe. Shin's grandparents are overjoyed to hear this wholesome reasoning and thank the parents for their kindness. Afterward, Shin thanks his grandparents for raising him so well, causing the two legends to burst into tears yet again. A few days later, Shin presents new clothes to his squad. These aren't just outfits, they have advanced defense enchantments, active camouflage, and temperature control. Everyone realizes their uniforms are now significantly more valuable than most national treasures. Shin mentions he didn't enchant the boots because he finds them hard to control otherwise. Out of all these super strong idiots, August von Earlshide is the only one smart enough to realize the trap. Shin is giving them updated gear because the upcoming training is going to be a death march. Everyone panics when the realization hits, but Shin calmly announces that today they will organize real combat training by taking down a catastrophe-class demon. The group doesn't believe they can do it, but Shin assures them they are strong enough, and if not, their god-tier uniforms will keep them alive. May von Earlshide complains, demanding to join them, but August forbids her because the training is too dangerous for a child. Since May won't stop complaining, Shin has an idea. He creates a primitive telephone using paper cups and demon spider silk. He tests it by talking to May from another room, effectively distracting her. Cicely uses sensory magic to pinpoint the location of the catastrophe-class demon, which turns out to be a demonized lion. Shin analyzes it like a gamer, noting it's slow but hits hard, a classic, Souls-like enemy with delayed attacks. Cicely suggests they cheese the boss with ranged attacks, and Shin pats her on the head, complimenting her because playing as a mage in a Souls game is always the easy mode strategy. The bachelors of the group are happy to see the couple flirting, but Shin Wolford quickly switches into businessman mode. It's time to fight. He assembles a team of useless people with random names, aka the background characters, to fight the demon lion. August von Earlshide is worried because these guys are essentially NPCs, but Shin believes they are already OP enough to win. The lion notices them, Shin gives the command, and the squad unleashes an elemental beatdown. As attacks hit from all sides, the lion realizes it picked the wrong fight. A giant explosion shakes the forest, and Shin realizes that sending 5 people to nuke one catastrophe-class demon was complete overkill, as only a smoking crater remains. Later that night, Shin cleans up nicely for his engagement party. Cicely von Claude comes to his room to fetch him, and the guy can't take his eyes off her. They get lost in a romantic staring contest until Cicely's mother arrives to tell them to hurry up because the guests are waiting. They receive a warm welcome from friends, family, and even King Desium von Earlshide. The next day, Shin teaches his entire troop how to fly. He simply casts anti-gravity magic on them, and they use wind magic to steer. He also invents a loudspeaker, connecting it to his earlier telephone creation just so he can yell at his friends to land so the second batch can take off. Meanwhile, in the Blue Dania Empire, Oliver Strom and his demon army have logically destroyed all nearby cities. He receives updates from his lieutenants, Zest and Miria. Miria reflects on how the demon squad led by Zest attacked merchant caravans, making food scarce and expensive. While the nobles continued to live in luxury, the common people starved, and Oliver Strom used that resentment to transform the angry populace into demons. The demons then proceed to massacre the nobility and destroy the nearby city. Shortly after the carnage, Oliver calls an all-hands meeting for his demon employees. He thanks them for their hard work, and the demons cheer, thinking they are getting a bonus. However, Oliver drops a bombshell. His only goal was to overthrow the empire. Now that it's burning, he has nothing left to do. The demons are not happy to hear their CEO is retiring. They declare they want to conquer the nearby kingdoms and eventually take over the world. Oliver, being the ultimate laissez-faire boss, tells them they can do whatever they want, but he's opting out of the world domination tour. One demon decides to leave to pursue his own startup, and Oliver encourages the others to follow suit if they have ambition. After the room clears out, Miria asks Oliver why he hates the empire with such burning passion. She mentions rumors that he was once an imperial duke. Oliver realizes he's never actually shared his villain origin story, and since they've been co-workers for so long, he decides it's story time. He explains that it all began 2 years ago when he was a normal human duke. Despite his fancy title, he often mingled with the common folk, even helping them with farming. His territory was booming thanks to his visionary policies, and his wife, Arya, was pregnant with their first child. However, because he was actually a competent and decent politician, he made enemies, specifically the jealous lords and the men who would become the emperor. The nobles hated Oliver's growing wealth and influence, so the future emperor hatched a scheme. They summoned Oliver to the capital to keep him busy while they orchestrated his downfall. Oliver received a letter from other nobles claiming they wanted to adopt his policies. Overjoyed and a bit naive, he agreed to attend the meeting. His wife was worried, knowing the other nobles were snakes, but since Oliver was the strongest magician in the empire, she figured he could handle it. A few days after Oliver left, people in his territory started disappearing. The corrupt nobles planted rumors that Oliver was kidnapping his own people to sell into slavery. The public, displaying zero critical thinking skills, began believing the rumors, painting Oliver as a tyrant. A few weeks later, the nobles staged a fake kidnapping and sent the authorities to investigate. The corrupt nobles staged a fake crime scene, showing the commoners a wagon full of kidnapped girls parked in Oliver Strom's driveway. Enraged, the mob decided to skip due process and went straight to arson, setting Oliver's mansion on fire with his pregnant wife, Arya, still inside. When Oliver returned, he was devastated to find his home reduced to ash and his wife dead. When he asked the townspeople why they went full psycho, they blamed him for the kidnapping ring, claiming the Imperial Police provided irrefutable proof that justified burning a pregnant woman alive. It was at this moment Oliver realized the game was rigged. The nobles had set him up, and the people he spent years helping turned on him instantly. He snapped, cursing the ungrateful commoners and the corrupt empire that allowed this to happen. Overcome by grief and rage, dark energy consumed him, and he transformed into a demon. With a single burst of energy, he nuked his own city, laughing maniacally while swearing to delete every single person in the empire from the census. Back in the present, Zest figures that since the empire is basically a parking lot now, they need a new target. He orders his subordinates to attack the small neighboring Swedes' kingdom, specifically to bait Shin Wolford into a fight. Meanwhile, in the capital, Prince August von Earlscheid's investiture ceremony is interrupted by a messenger screaming about demons at the border. Panic breaks out, but August tells everyone to chill because he has a special unit ready to handle the situation. He calls Shin to the stage, introducing him as the new hero who saved the Magic Academy. Shin casts mass flight magic on the group, and they fly off toward the border to ruin some demon's day. The Knight Commander of the Swedes' kingdom and his soldiers spot a massive horde of demons approaching. He realizes his country is basically doomed because they aren't strong enough to fight them, and requesting support from other kingdoms would take a week, by which time they'd all be demon chow. Desperate, he orders all available magicians to use their strongest barrier magic to defend the castle walls. Surprisingly, thanks to their special defense equipment, they manage to block the first wave. Meanwhile, Shin Wolford and his squad are flying toward the Swedes' kingdom. When they arrive, Shin orders the others to form pairs and take down the demons one by one. The kingdom is completely surrounded, with demons bombarding the city and toying with civilians running for their lives. When a pair of demons corners a woman and her daughter, Shin swoops in, kicks them in the face, and sends them flying. One of the demons gets angry, claiming a mere human can't beat him. He draws his weapon, but Shin just sighs and unleashes his blue flame cannon. The demon practically wets himself in fear before being annihilated in a single shot. Thorvald Fregel takes care of the second demon, and they direct the mother and daughter to the rescue center. Shin is furious looking at the death and destruction, but then he spots August and Maria on a high tower. August, being the ultimate hype man and tactical genius, addresses the citizens. He announces that reinforcements have arrived and that the demons should just give up because they are facing the new hero, Shin, famous for soloing demon armies. The people cheer, regaining their hope, while the demons get even more eager to fight the boss. The group splits into pairs and spreads out. Meanwhile, Alice Corner and Rin Hughes form a team and use a search spell to locate their first target. They come across a demon who has just dismantled a group of knights without breaking a sweat. The demon takes one look at the girls and mocks them for being flatter than a surfboard, asking if they are here to play with Barbie dolls. This insult instantly infuriates Alice, who charges forward while activating her flame magic. However, Rin hits her with a water spell, extinguishing her fire and effectively playing against her own team. She scolds Alice, telling her this is no time to get carried away by emotions. Alice calms down and promises to fight patiently, but Rin casually points out that the demon is already dead. Suddenly, they hear the scream of a knight being tortured by another demon. The demon toys with the soldier and launches a destructive attack, but Rin and Alice arrive just in time to block it with their magical barriers. Unfortunately, this demon has a death wish and comments that Alice is smoother than a skeleton. Alice snaps completely and hits him with a fire spell so powerful it doesn't even leave ashes behind. They help the knight up, but he insists he can walk to the rescue center alone. Elsewhere, Julius von Littenheim, the guy whose defining trait is apparently just having eyes and glasses, blocks a demon trying to engage Thor von Fregel in hand-to-hand combat. When a second demon attacks, Thor blocks it with his barrier and retaliates with a blade of wind. In another location, two demons corner some knights against a wall, when suddenly a magic circle appears beneath one of them. The unlucky demon is instantly turned into a popsicle by a magic circle trap set by Yuri Carlton, who is chilling on a nearby rooftop. His partner spots her and prepares to attack, but Tony Freed charges in with his ultrasonic blade, a trick he picked up from Shin, and slices through two demons with a single blow. At the rescue center, a demon squad decides to attack the vulnerable civilians. Mark Bean is on guard hard duty, nervously holding his sword like it's his first day on the job. A demon charges him, but suddenly a massive concrete block drops from the sky like a cartoon anvil, crushing the beast. Olivia Stone steps up, declaring she will protect her boyfriend. A second demon tries to flank her, but Mark sets it on fire, declaring he will keep his girlfriend safe, combining their attacks to defeat the demons instantly. Inside, Cicely Vaughn Claude is working overtime, struggling to treat the endless stream of injured people. Outside, Shin Wolford is wiping the floor with the demon horde, using a variety of spells to delete them from existence. Lawrence, the spy sent by Zest, has been watching from the shadows to find Shin's weakness. Instead, he starts sweating bullets, realizing that Shin doesn't have weaknesses, he is the weakness for the demon race. Elsewhere, August von Earlshide and his team have cleared out the mobs, leaving only the demon leader. The leader assumes the prince is the final boss of the humans and wants to kill him to break their morale. August laughs, correcting him, "I'm neither the leader nor the strongest member of the Ultimate Magicians." Maria von Messina launches a surprise attack, but the demon ruthlessly uses 2 human hostages as meat shields. He throws the humans aside and punt kicks Maria with enough force to send her flying. However, thanks to Shin's game-breaking defensive gear, the damage is absorbed. If she were wearing normal armor, every bone in her body would have snapped. Maria pumps magic into her uniform to auto-heal. The demon notices her head is unprotected, but before he can exploit it, Maria tells him it's useless and blasts him with a point-blank fireball, resulting in a massive explosion. Maria von Messina does not stop. She continues bombarding the demon with fireballs. However, when the smoke clears, she discovers the demon is unharmed. He reveals he is using a special magical defense tool looted from the kingdom's mages he defeated earlier. August von Earlshide and Maria realize this tool is strong, and the demon taunts them, daring them to try again. The two exchange a look and immediately run in opposite directions to flank him. August strikes with lightning magic, but the demon blocks it with the tool. Maria attacks from the other side, and the demon blocks that too. Suddenly, his concentration lapses, and the barrier weakens and shatters. Maria immediately lands a fireball, knocking him off balance. As soon as the demon tries to stand, August finishes the job with a lightning spell that punches a perfectly circular hole through his chest, killing him instantly. Lawrence, Zest's assistant, is watching from the shadows and is shocked to discover that it isn't just Shin who is overpowered. The entire human team is capable of defeating demons. He realizes that even Oliver Strom's loyal followers are at risk. Deciding it is unwise to sacrifice more troops, he orders a retreat. To ensure the escape, Miria, the female demon, takes charge of distracting the magicians. Miria melts and blows up the heavy door protecting the city, causing massive explosions. She easily overpowers the knights and is about to send their commander to the afterlife when Rin Hughes and Alice Corner arrive on the scene. With the introductions out of the way, Alice charges in. The prompt mentions lightning, though Alice typically uses high-speed light/physical attacks. Regardless, she strikes fast. The enemy is faster, dodging the attack easily. Alice aims for the neck, but Miria dodges and counters from behind. Alice escapes without taking much damage, her uniform auto-healing her injuries. The demoness counters, sliding under Alice's guard and knocking her to the ground. Shin Wolford tries to attack, but the enemy uses Alice Corner as a human shield. Meanwhile, Lawrence, Zest's assistant, receives a message that the boss, Shin, is here. He immediately orders all demons to retreat, but the bloodthirsty demons refuse to listen. Suddenly, Shin arrives at the main battlefield and begins to incinerate them with his blue flames. The sight of the blue fire eating away their comrades strikes terror into the demons' hearts, and they finally break rank and run. Shin continues to attack the fleeing horde, utilizing his floating magic to chase them down from the air. He launches a devastating beam to wipe them out. However, some escape by jumping over the wall. Shin is forced to hold his fire to avoid hitting the knights stationed nearby. Suddenly, he notices huge explosions in the distance. Apparently, Miria is fighting Rin Hughes and Alice. Taking advantage of the chaos, Miria grabs Alice and uses her as a shield. Yuri Carlton and Tony Freed arrive to provide support. Yuri attacks from behind, but Miria simply rotates Alice into the path of the attack. Alice deploys a barrier to protect herself, but she still collides head-on with Yuri. They are spotted, and Tony tries to protect them with his ultrasonic blade. He swings at Miria as she rushes him, but she easily dodges the blow, disarms him, and breaks his barrier. She launches a devastating point-blank attack, throwing Tony against the wall. Just then, Shin arrives and commands her to stop. Surprisingly, Miria obeys and waits while he frees Rin from the rocks and heals her. Shin is furious to see his friends battered and broken. He asks Yuri to take care of them and steps forward. Miria is curious to test test the strength of the new hero. Shin attacks with his ultrasonic blade, but she dodges and encases him in a stone prison. Shin smashes through the rock, only to find Miria charging at him. He blocks her attack with his barrier, resulting in a massive explosion. It is Shin's turn to counterattack. Miria barely dodges a lethal blow from his blade. Miria sees this as her chance to escape. She runs into the light, grabbing August von Earlshide by the face in the process and smashing him into the ground to clear a path. Shin Wolford uses his jet boots to chase her, but his path is blocked by a massive wall of ice thrown by Lawrence, Zest's assistant. To make matters worse, the demons unleash an attack with an insane amount of magical power. Shin looks at his friends, who are barely holding on, and realizes they will all be vaporized if the attack hits. Shin uses all his power to create a giant barrier to save everyone, pushing the explosion upwards into the sky. When the smoke clears, he discovers that the demons used the explosion as a smoke screen to disappear. Luckily, all of his friends are safe, but the important thing is that they survived an attack that could have wiped them out. August orders everyone to rescue the civilians and mop up any remaining demons, advising caution. Shin and August head to the rescue center and discover the situation is dire. Besides Cicely Von Claude, Mark Bean, and Olivia Stone are also busy healing the injured. They report that Cicely is handling the most critical cases inside. August calls everyone to assist with triage and asks Shin to go support his girlfriend. Inside, Cicely is nearing the end of her magic reserves, but she continues to strive to save as many lives as possible. Eventually, her mana runs dry, and the treatment of a critically injured patient is interrupted. She cries, believing there is nothing more she can do as his injuries are too severe. In a desperate act, she begins to undress, shouting that her clothes are imbued with self-healing magic and that if she dresses the patient in her uniform, he might be saved. However, Shin arrives just in time. He stops her and covers her with his coat immediately. He explains that the man's injuries are internal and too severe to be fixed by the uniform's autoregen or standard healing magic. However, he believes he can still save him. Shin steps in and uses a massive amount of magical power combined with his knowledge of modern medical anatomy. He reconstructs the injured organs one part at a time, bringing the men completely out of danger while the patient's wife looks on in tears of relief. As they leave the room, she grabs Shin's uniform, sobbing that he is too amazing and she could never do what he does. She feels useless for always needing his help. Shin gently tells her that isn't true. He explains that the only reason the man is still alive is because Cicely kept him stable with her magic long enough for Shin to operate. He points to the crowd of people she saved. Everyone is thanking Cicely, calling her a saint. After that, the ultimate magicians deal with the king of the Swedes' kingdom, who thanks them for saving his nation. August von Earlshide tells the king that the incident doesn't sit right with him. He has no idea why Oliver Strum would attack such a small nation after destroying an entire empire. He informs the king that Shin has fought Oliver before and driven him away, which should have made the demon wary of their power. Yet, Oliver continues to attack. August proposes an alliance with the Swedes' kingdom, and the king agrees to join forces. The group reunites, and Shin warns that they should be ready for another demon attack at any moment. August agrees, and they all declare they will protect the world together. Soon after, they return to the capital using Shin's gate magic and find a group of knights and mages waiting for them. They throw a massive party to celebrate the ultimate magicians driving away the demons. Shin gets a headache hearing the ridiculous name he made up being chanted by the crowd, but what matters is that everyone is safe. With the immediate threat gone, August reports to his father, King Deuxième, about the alliance with the Swedes' kingdom. He asks for permission to contact other nations and invite them to join a global alliance against the demons. The king grants permission. The girls who are part of August's family, May von Earlshide and Elizabeth von Coral, also want to tag along. Although August is initially against it, King Deuxième ends up giving permission for this kind of field trip to happen. The next day, the ultimate magicians set off on their journey to save the world from the danger of demons.